Did humans really live to be 900 years old? Continued. Let's look at some of the differences between the pre-flood and the post-flood conditions. What kind of effect would it have on plants if just the atmospheric pressure was increased and the carbon dioxide was increased as well? Well, a professor applied these two aspects to a plant and had miraculous results. Professor Kiyomori began his experiment in his basement in Japan. He began raising a cherry tomato plant by putting it under a container where he could increase the atmospheric pressure as well as the carbon dioxide content. Now, he began to see remarkable results, which forced him to move the plant out of his basement. The plant was simply becoming too large. He brought it to the university that he worked at. The tomato plant continued to grow and grow and grow. The last picture that I saw of the plant showed a cherry tomato plant that was 3 stories high and had literally thousands of grapefruit-sized tomatoes on it. Now, a cherry tomato plant normally lives a few months. This one lived for years. Now, imagine the immense abundance of plant life in an atmosphere of this kind, which again has been shown scientifically to have existed in the past. The entire world would have been completely different than it is today. Well, benefits do not end with the plant life. Animals, humans, and even insects would have benefited greatly as well. The increased atmospheric pressure combined with additional oxygen can have an incredible effect on non-plant life forms. Now, do you remember baby Jessica that fell down a Texas well years ago? Yes, that does date me somewhat. Well, her leg had been twisted while she was in the well, and it was in such bad shape, it was black, that doctors suggested amputation. Now, hyperbaric chambers were fairly new, and someone suggested that she be placed in one for a while. Well, this chamber increased the atmospheric pressure and also the oxygen content. She made a complete recovery, with the exception of one of her toes. Well, today these chambers are commonly used to help treat injuries, and they still have similar results today. Now, these two examples apply just a couple of the conditions that were different in the past. Carl Baugh decided to take this information about the atmosphere and actually make a biosphere with all of the conditions that appeared to be present before the flood. The results were staggering. Piranha grew more than twice their normal size in the biosphere. Fruit flies lived up to 3 generations instead of 1. Copperheads were put into the biosphere. The venom was later tested and was determined to be completely non-poisonous. The molecular change in the venom, once it had been milked after it had been in this chamber, was enough to cause it to have no poisonous effect. Well, what was the effect on some of the plants and animals before the flood? Well, let's look at the fossils to find out. Fossils show us that beavers were 10 feet. Dragonflies had wingspans of 3 feet. One shark's tooth suggests that the shark was over 100 feet long. Now, creatures were often much larger than they are today. And even plants, some plants such as the club moss grew to be over 100 feet tall, and they are less than 2 feet tall today. Now, almost all dinosaurs were vegetarians. Plants would have been prolific, and dinosaurs would have had plenty to eat. And this leads us to another point. What happened to all the dinosaurs? And this is a little side point here. Well, first of all, there is an incredible amount of evidence that humans have lived with dinosaurs. Human footprints with dinosaur footprints or in the same strata. These have been found throughout the world, for instance. And see evosecrets.com for the free videos on this subject if you've not received them yet. But the question is why have all the dinosaurs died off? Well, the answer, or at least part of the answer, lies within the very subject that we have been discussing. What is the one peculiar thing about dinosaurs? Well, they all had very small lungs for their size of body. So if this canopy around the earth was destroyed, then dinosaurs had a very serious problem. They would have had a very difficult time breathing. Each breath would have brought in less than half of the oxygen compared to what they were used to. And many scientists actually believe it was approximately 1/3 of the amount of oxygen. Now, for those that do believe in creation and the worldwide flood, another thing would have happened. Before the flood, the canopy would have caused a semi-tropical climate to be around the entire world. Now, this idea has borne out with evidence of palm trees found in the Antarctica, Arctic, and virtually every continent in the world. This semi-tropical climate would have disappeared in every area of the world, except, of course, where we still find it. The virtual greenhouse that was caused by this canopy around the Earth was destroyed, and the oxygen and carbon dioxide concentration, as well as the atmospheric pressure, would have been much less than it was in the past. So, not only dinosaurs would have found it difficult to breathe, but the former climate was also gone. Now, for those that believe in the flood, then Noah's Ark would have carried the dinosaurs as well as other animals. But the dinosaurs would have had a very tough time surviving. But getting back to the main question, did humans really live to be 900 years old? Well, we really cannot answer that question positively by science. But we do know that all kinds of life could have lived to be many times older than today. Thanks for watching this video, and we'll see you on the next one.